My name is Kelsey Brown, and the issue that I'm going to be talking about is the fast fashion industry, which affects all of us because if you check your clothing tag, most likely it says made in some other country. Um, fast fashion industry, most of us buy our clothes at Target or at the mall, places like Forever 21. All of these places offshore the production of their clothing. And so the problem with this is that um, it's a human rights violation, and also with fast fashion, there's a lot of ecological damage that is done. So dealing with this is hard because it doesn't fall upon one country, because so many are involved. There's a lot of discussion on whether developed countries or developing countries should be the ones to deal with it. I think the hard part is that the cycle of fast fashion is very cyclical, so it's damage is done by everybody who's involved. Um, because developing countries are currently doing the most ecological damage, but are the ones experiencing human rights violations, I think it's imperative that they're assisted with dealing with these issues. Using cheap energy is the fastest way for developing countries to develop economically, so it isn't a realistic expectations to believe that developing countries have the money and resources to fully transition to green energy and to develop eco-friendly clothing manufacturing as well as address the human rights violations that are happening. Because it is the Western countries who establish the models that are polluting the planet, they should be held accountable to deal with the problems that they have helped create through colonialism. So legislation needs to be established to enforce corporate responsibility. As a result of globalization, our economies are more interconnected than ever. Like I said earlier, if you check your label, it probably says made in China or Bangladesh. Uh, because corporate businesses are able to exploit cheaper work and things like pay wages and resources, many fast fashion businesses offshore. So this is a huge problem. An example of where this is a problem is in Bangladesh. Bangladesh is the second largest producer of the garment industry, only behind China. So this information I got from the Borgen Project, which is a nonprofit which works to address poverty and hunger globally. So in Bangladesh, over 4 million people work in garment fashion, so the economic stability of these countries are highly dependent on the production of clothes. The industry, however, is controlled by the West, who are the ones consuming the garments produced in masses. In a month, a garment worker in Bangladesh estimates to only make $25 to $75. This is one of the main appeals to offshoring and is why major corporations desire to have manufacturing sites overseas. The organization quotes a seamstress from Bangladesh who started working in factories at age 11. The girl explained how they are scared and have no choice. They need money to survive. When these same corporations are exponentially profiting off the cheap labor that they're exploiting overseas, while the people who are working actually to make the money are suffering human rights violations, there's clearly a problem that needs to be addressed. Beyond the low pay, the people working in garment factories suffer unsafe working conditions. There are countless examples of this. One of the most tragic happened was the collapse of the Rana Plaza building in Dhaka. It contained 5 different garment factories distributing products across North America and Europe. The collapse killed over 1,000 people and 2,600 people were injured. So beyond that, it's an environmental issue. Fast fashion results in 10% of annual global carbon emissions, according to the World Bank Organization. And each year, the fashion industry uses enough water to meet the consumption of 5 million people. So this is clearly a problem that needs to be addressed. Because the Western countries are the ones who establish it, they should be the ones who have to take the biggest role in addressing this. The fashion industry is the third largest manufacturing sector behind automobile and technology industries. Because it's such a large industry, it shouldn't be hard to reallocate money to be more supportive of the countries and the people that these corporations are exploiting. Developed countries are the ones benefiting, so they should have to be address it. Like I said, I think legislation through the UN needs to create a standard of living pay wage, standard of living and work, and also ecological restrictions. I also think money needs to be really invested in green energy. In Denmark, they have a circular economy, which is a model of production and consumption, which involves sharing, reusing, recycling materials. So I think this is something that could definitely be incorporated and could benefit people and reduce waste. So, yeah. Ugh.